with our community. Okay, and our community. And then I want to talk about Miss Models Inc.
Yeah.
Okay, so I just want to say to our audience out there, welcome to Pronoun TV today. Today on the show during Pride Week here in Toronto, we have the incredible Miss Models Inc. CEO herself, Miss Vega Over is here. Miss Vega Over Perry to talk to us a little bit today about Pride, what Pride means to her, and about Miss Models Inc and about where do we go from here with all the new trans laws and new bills introduced in Washington about what's going to happen within our community and how we're going to respond to it. Now, I want to say welcome to the show today, Vega.
Thank you so much for having me.
Now, first of all, where are you from?
I am actually from Newport News, Virginia, but I live in Norfolk, of which Newport News and Norfolk, the only thing that separates us is a tunnel. So I'm maybe 20 minutes, 10 miles from where I was born and raised.
Okay. Now you know prides are going on around the world now, with everybody celebrating Pride. Now, how is the celebration where you are now with the new laws? Because that would mean you would live in the West, right?
Yes. Uh-huh.
Okay. So how are the laws affecting the drag shows and the community itself there?
Actually, ironically, and also a blessing, we have not been affected here in the Virginia area as a whole. A lot of the laws, that have been implemented in different states and cities. Fortunately, we have not had any issues with the drag. So we have not had any issue whatsoever with any type of cancellations. Of course, as you just mentioned, and I know we'll talk about that more, I just had Models Inc. On the 11th of June. We also have Pride coming up actually this weekend, which is Hampton Roads Pride, and we'll be celebrating 34 years with Hampton Roads Pride here, but we haven't had any problems whatsoever. And fortunately, also our governor as well as our mayors, more than anything within our own cities, they support and they come to our Pride festivals and they speak on the main stage and things of that nature. A lot of our city council as well as our local senators, they come and support our events. So fortunately, we have not had any issues whatsoever in that particular area.
Well, that's a wonderful thing because here in Toronto, it's the same thing. We haven't really had any real issues with backlash with the drag shows. The girls are still performing and making a living and trying to do what they can. It's hard to make a living now because COVID really put a damper on a lot of things in general in a lot of our lives. Now, let's talk a little bit about Florida. I want to get your opinion about Ron DeSantis and the new laws in Florida. Now, do you think these laws that are affecting our community in a real way, in real time, affecting the trans community and the young kids coming up today, which will decide whether or not what gender they are or how they identify as or what pronoun they're under? What do you think about that?
Well, I think that the laws, first and foremost, I think that Ron DeSantis is just really a poor representation of having a governor within that state. And because Texas is one of our biggest states, it affects so many parts of Texas. And of course, we know with the logistics when it comes to the laws and how they are orchestrated and things of that nature, often they will sag away from those bigger states to smaller states because a lot of them they take on those type of protocols and those type of laws. So I think that it's going to ultimately be a domino effect. And God forbid if he were to get into the White House. So just see what he's doing with his own particular state, and for him to get in the White House, being a representation of so many states, I think that would also be a domino effect. I think that drag in general is not hurting anyone. Now, I can understand the concerns that individuals may have when it comes to bringing children, into those type of environments, but that's a decision that you make. So if you decide to bring your child into those type of establishments, you obviously are aware of those type of establishments, or you have actually gone to those type of establishments. So you kind of know what you're getting when you bring your child there. So to prevent those things from happening, just don't bring your child there, because a drag show should not have to tone itself down based upon you making a decision to bring a child into that atmosphere. So I certainly think that Ron DeSantis in general is just a poor representation, once again, for the state of Texas, as well as I think that ultimately he's going to cause some issues, because a lot of these Republican senators, Republican governors, Republican mayors, they are taking note to what he is doing within the Texas state, and they are making decisions to do that domino effect within their own area. So I think that it's just going to be a mockery of different things that's going to happen. Hopefully, a lot of those laws that are put in place, hopefully they will be able to make some changes and make, some aggressive moves, when it comes to the different aspects of different LGBTQ friendly mayors and senators and things of that nature. They will collectively make some decisions as it pertains to protecting our rights as a whole.
Okay. Now, I want to ask you something just in short, though. In short, how do you feel about if Donald Trump was to be reelected?
Oh, I think it would be a disaster.
Okay.
I mean, that's just a short version, of what I think. I think it will be a disaster, because I think that he has no type of connection with our community whatsoever. I think that he is just a person that is going to be brutal to our community. I think that because so many different things have happened to him, as far as these different court appearances and things of these natures, or those natures, and also, the different charges that are applying there to him. So I think that when it comes to him actually getting back in office, I think that it's going to be a situation to where he's going to do a lot of payback, just to use a short term for actions at that point.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, I want to talk just a little bit about the Black gay community in Norfolk and just around the world. What is it that you think the Black community and the Black gay community needs to do to move forward in a positive direction that will reflect positivity for our community and progression for our community, and to show that we are standing up and we're in solidarity of each other, hopefully?
Well, I think that the first thing that we need to do, we need to be a unit with one another. I think that often within our own community, the LGBTQ plus community in general, they separate themselves. So if we come and combine ourselves, as those letters are combined, to be a bigger community, I think that that would be helpful, because often the different states, and different communities, they're so judgmental towards one another. So it's really hard for the African American community to become a unit with one another. So I think that if they become a unit with one another, we know numbers change things, the more, petitions and things of that nature, and the more support you get as a community as a whole, those things ratify into something positive as an outcome in general.
Okay. Now, just a couple of more questions here. What do you think about, where do you see the drag queen story hour in the future? Do you think it would still exist?
I don't know to say if it will exist. I think that because we have so many politicians that are thinking that the drag story is going to be something that will cause their children some mental disruption, in their lives, will cause them to, head in a different direction. I think that that aspect, of our community as a whole. Now, what I think the biggest issue is, I think that it's not more about, the actual stories, that they are telling, because most of the time they're reading books, to these children. I think it's more about the attire that they're wearing. So I think that if we were to address the attire, I think that there would not be a big stigma there for our politicians to want to get involved and to have that bigger concern. I think it's more about the attire versus the verbiage that's coming out of their mouth, because again, they're just reading stories.
Okay. Now, let's talk about Pride. You said Pride is coming up this weekend. What does Pride mean to you? And what are you looking forward to seeing this Pride weekend?
Looking for unity, looking for a major support at our Pride events. We typically have between 10 to 15,000 people. And I'm hoping, that at some point, that number will get to 20,000 people, because we do have a large support that come, out to our Pride events. Our biggest Pride event actually starts on Friday, Saturday, and then Sunday, but we have several different events to lead up to Pride. The biggest event would be Hampton Roads Pride, that's going to be in Town Point Park, which is going to be on Saturday. That's where the largest number of people, that's where we have our special guests, we have our celebrities, they come for the main stage and things of that nature. So I'm just looking for more unity, more support, larger numbers and things of that nature, looking for more politicians to come to support our Pride, because we have certain politicians within certain cities, because we are considered the 7 cities. So each city has its own mayor, its manager and things of that nature, looking for all of those city managers and those mayors to collectively come and support one Pride. Because what has happened here is we have had Pride, which is Hampton Roads Pride, here for many years, but each city now is doing their own Pride. Do I think there's anything wrong with that? No, not. But I think that collectively that causes a separation, because now every city feels that they need to have their own Pride, of which we used to just be the 7 cities, which is Hampton Roads Pride. So I think that if collectively, if you have your Pride, it kind of takes away, from the collective goal there is for all come together. So that's the downside of what I feel as it pertains to each city having their Pride. Now, I do understand that each city mayor feels that, okay, if we have a Pride in our city, that brings in revenue. So that's what they're thinking. They're thinking about the financial gain that it brings to their city. But I think that collectively, it separates us also.
Now, let's talk a little bit about Miss Models Inc. You've already had that, or it's coming up?
I've already had it. It was my 24th year. It was on Sunday, June 11th. And we crowned our 24th queen, which her name is Princess Escade, and she was deemed the MMI Glam Dam. I made a decision when I started having Models Inc. in 1999 that each individual would have her own signature name, and I make a decision on what the signature name will be. So we just crowned our 24th queen, and fortunately, because of my connection with Hampton Roads Pride, because I am on the board of Hampton Roads Pride and also on the committee, to select board members, for Hampton Roads Pride. So my representative have been asked to be the Grand Marshal, and also my representative always performs on the main stage as well as the club stage.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Well, congratulations on that. You're doing an amazing job. I see you all over social media, and Miss Models Inc. is something that a lot of the girls can look up to and look forward to participating in down the road. So in closing, let's talk a little bit about where we should go from here.
I think our community as a whole, and I know I've used this word so many times, but I think that collectively, our community is just so separate within one another. So I think that if we could just become that unit with one another, I think that we can turn a lot of these mountains, that we are trying to conquer, in all the different, states and cities that are against our community as a whole. I think that if we become that unit again, I think that if we stop being so judgmental towards one another and be supportive to one another, and I'm just speaking in general, fortunately, with Models Inc., we have a big support system, but each year, I want to say to myself, wow, how can this become bigger? Because at 24 years, I'm able to pack a building, but I would want it to be a situation to where, people are at standing room only. Have I had that? Yes, I've had that before, but I think that continually, that's how we need to evolve in our community and be so supportive, even if with our different states, our different cities. Like Richmond, is not too far from where I live, but even Richmond often sometimes, they become in competition, with the Hampton Roads. They don't want to book the girls from down here. And then sometimes the girls, pass on that torch and don't want to book them, so it's just a piggyback, situation that happens. So I think that, being more supportive and more understanding of if Stephanie is an excellent entertainer, I don't have to personally like her, but I know that she will be an incentive to work in my bar because she's an entertainer. So I'm going to book her
Mhm.
entertainment, not because I personally, don't like her, as an individual, but I understand that she's great for business.
Hmm. And people need to be smart about that.
Mhm.
Now, in closing, let's. I want to talk about the gay community in general, and especially the drag and trans community, about Black-owned businesses, because drag is going to be very challenging with all these new laws and all these new rules and oppositions up against us in so many different directions. The girls now have a real opportunity to open their own business. And by you being a businesswoman and having a professional career, you could be a great example to help maybe get the word out, to encourage the girls to start their own business.
Um, I think personally here in Virginia, I think that a lot of the young ladies have made a decision to open nonprofits. And to be honest, I think that some of them have opened a nonprofit, for the purpose of profiting themselves, if you know what I mean. I think that
Mhm.
not as serious about the work, as they say they are, but because it's so many organizations that are opening every day and the funding is available. I think that often our community have taken advantage, of that financial gain, in a sense. And I think that a lot of the private businesses, that are opened by our community in general, um, I don't see a lot of that happening here in the Virginia area. We don't have a lot of our gay clubs even in existence anymore. So I think that it would just be a circumstance to where someone would have to open something that the community feels that is needed in our community. Because if you're not opening some type of business to where the community feels that it's needed, often, it just dwindles. I see, some people, that may open, a little shop, to where they're selling, drag and things of that nature, jewelry and things of that nature. I think that sometimes they feel that it's better for them to physically just sell online, because that has become so prevalent versus them opening an establishment, paying for lights and paying for, rent and things of that nature, to open a business people physically don't support. So I think that online capabilities has really caused a lot of the businesses that a lot of our young ladies, and young men would want to open within our community. It has caused them to make a further decision to say, hey, I don't think I'm going to do that, because how lucrative will that be when Stephanie may be selling the same thing that I'm selling and she's reaching a bigger audience because of social media.
Hmm. Well, I want to just say thank you so much for dropping in today on Pronoun TV and the Stephanie Stevens Show. We appreciate all of the hard work that you're doing and the great. I like the fact that you're a businesswoman, and that is such something that I'm drawn to. I'm drawn to, um, people that are smart and that want to make and their career good, and also contribute to their community as well with Miss Models Inc. This is a great thing, and this is what people need to see about our lives, that we live ordinary lives just like them, and that we have concerns about our future and about the politics and about what's going on in our communities. And it was great talking to you today, Miss Vega over Perry. And I wanted to say happy Pride. And
Thank
I want to
you.
say thank you for dropping in today and giving us a little insight on your thoughts about everything.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I certainly appreciate it. And again, congratulations on your platform. You probably will see me do this all the time. I think that what you're doing is magnificent. So every time I run into your news feed and things of that nature, I always either want to comment or I want to like or love, what you're doing, because I think that what you're doing is something that you probably thought, why am I wasting my time? Is this platform going to build? So I love the aspect of when I hear you doing your videos, and you're saying that, wow, this is finally going where I wanted it to go. It's building in the direction. So I'm glad to see that you did not give up, because I know that it's so easy for our community to give up. Sometimes you just don't know how many times I wanted to give up on having Models Inc. because, as you mentioned, I have a career, I work as a nurse, so therefore I don't need to have Models Inc. I don't work for any financial gain. It's me, the passion that I have for our community as a whole, and the passion that I have for pageantry that makes me continue to do it 24 years later. So congratulations on your platform.
Oh, thank you so much. Like you said, I didn't think. Now I see things are moving in the right direction, and you just have to keep going. So, to all you entrepreneurs out there, and especially our community, just keep going. Just keep going. I just want to say happy Pride to everybody out there. Stay safe, have a lot of fun, and just remember, just keep going.
That's right.
Just keep going. Thank you so much, Vega, over for being on the show today, and we will talk again soon.
My pleasure. Anytime. And thank you also to your son. Have a beautiful day. Bye
Thank you. Bye bye.
bye. Yeah.